So, so what am I looking at for cost? And I know that there's payment options as well. So
Yep.
like, what's the lowest that this can cost somebody? And,
Yeah.
how expensive can it get? How does that, and then also like, I think that you mentioned the other day about how you can make it so that you can basically heat your whole house.
Yep.
But it would take a lot to make that happen, or those kinds of options.
Yeah. So during the winter months, and that's the reason I asked originally about, whether or not you're going to use it for the heating or the cooling or both. During the winter months, during December, January, February, these cost a little bit more to run. So different manufacturers have different products, but like I installed mine in my house, I happen to do Mitsubishi, and we went with a high heat option. That can go down in temperature, so it will actually run more efficiently as the temperature gets really low, like below 15, it will still work, and it will still be relatively efficient. The other units will still work when it gets down in temperature. They'll actually still produce hot air, but the problem is the efficiency goes out the window a little bit. So we get less BTUs out of the unit, or heating capacity out of the unit. So the unit has to run longer. And when that happens, the energy costs start to go way up. So I want to be very careful of that. So December, January, February are always tough months, especially for heat pumps. So I just want to be careful of that. And that's what I was kind of talking about, why we might consider a particular brand or a particular product. Okay. Is so that we can make sure that we get you what you're looking for. But still, during December, January, and February, if you have another source of heating, let's say a boiler or a furnace, I would definitely suggest running those. Maybe you set the heat pump temperature to, I don't know, 68 degrees. Mm-hmm. And if it can't keep up, we set the boiler temperature to, let's say, 65, but at least the boiler is maintaining temperature. Your boiler, most likely, if you have a boiler, is running anyways. Yep. During the winter months. So it seems to make more sense, and it's going to be more cost effective to use the boiler and the heat pump versus just the heat pump.
Okay, gotcha. And then what are the financing options if I didn't want to pay? I mean, I would imagine that these aren't free, right? So, I mean, what are the financing options like for something like this?
Yeah, we got a couple of options. One would be an interest deferred program. So if you're looking for like 18 months with zero interest, they call it interest deferred, which means make sure you pay it off in 18 months. Or you go with a lower cost option. It just depends on everyone's lifestyle. No prepayment penalty on the lower cost option. So if you decided you want to pay it off early, feel free to. So it really just depends on people's wants or needs or ability to pay too. That's the other big thing.
And so you can conceivably do this. It would be, do I have to put any money out of pocket, or is it the kind of thing where you'd be able to come in and basically install this, and not have to have any money down or anything like that?
Yeah. There's no money down. There might be an activation fee for it. I think it's like $29 if I remember correctly, or something like that. So very, very minimal, what I would consider minimal. Mm-hmm. So it's very little out of pocket up front. And like I said, you could finance the whole piece. And like I said, if you wanted lower payments, you can certainly get down on the lower payment side with a certain program. And then you could also do, some people just want 18 months or so to pay it off. They are 0%, obviously deferred interest, so make sure you pay it off in that 18 months, but keep your money where it is, make a little bit of money in the meantime. Yep. Both very good options. So
okay,
we ought to kind of just discuss general ideas, right, of ballpark wise, just so you can get an idea on the cost. Yeah. If you're looking to potentially do, let's say we'll talk about doing 2 indoor units right now with a potential for a third. So if we were doing it on the outside, so we were doing basically the upstairs area. So we have what we call a 3-unit condenser outside, mm-hmm. and actually install 2 heads. You're probably looking at somewhere in the ballpark of, depending on the type of equipment you could be starting right around the $8,000 mark, somewhere in that mm-hmm. ballpark, I'm going to say, roughly. Mm-hmm. It obviously depends on what type of equipment we're going with. The lower temperature equipment that we talked about before that can get down in temperature and they're more efficient at the lower temperature, especially if you're using it for heating, very good idea to have. They'll be a little bit more. But to give you a good general ballpark, I thought that was kind of important to ask that question.
So probably looking at 2 units downstairs, and maybe I just, maybe I don't bother with the upstairs very much because we don't use it anywhere near as much as we use those other places, so probably start with 4.
Yeah. So if you started in the 4 and you're looking somewhere around, looking for it primarily for, not so much for the heating side, but could be used for the girls' room. So when you turn it on, it's just not going to be as efficient, but it would still work. It'd still heat them. It wouldn't be a problem. It just wouldn't be quite as efficient. Definitely be more efficient than the plug-in heaters for sure. So that being said, if you went with a 4, you could be starting at somewhere in the ballpark, I'm going to guess, of that $12,000 range, maybe even, and obviously with the lower payments, you can bring that down. I mean, you could get into the $150 a month, and even lower. I mean, on the, you could get down into the $80 a month too. So there's quite a range.